Chamgaitab kalenjin ogo itagat en tetutietab Health Watch kainenyin ko Karen Cheriot. En betutab raini keng'ololi agobo yosinda. Ago en studio amiten ak Dr. Stella. Itagat Dr. Stella. When you talk about old age, before we get into the facts about old age and what it means to age gracefully, successfully and unsuccessfully, give us the statistics.
Okay, thank you very much, Karen. What we know is growing old is part of life. Everybody will grow old. All of us are headed there. So depending on the country you're in, old age begins from either 55 up to 65. In Kenya, old age begins from 60, and that's the age where most people will retire from work, and most people will already be grandparents, no longer working, and no longer being able to really get children of their own. One more thing I should add about growing old is that we all need to know we are living longer than ever before. For the first time, life expectancies are increasing. For the first time in many countries around the world, we are having an increasing aging population. For countries like Africa and many developing countries, we find that most people are still having the middle age population, that is people who are between 15 to around 60, 65 as the biggest growing population. And that's the same even for us in Kenya. But the fastest growing population are people who are 60 and above. You find the younger, below 15 children, that population is not increasing as much because of many reasons, one of them being a decrease in fertility. That is the number of births per woman. So you find in the past it used to be above 5. Now we are at 3 and below. So initially, of course, it was recommended that you should get less children so that you're able to sustain your economy. But right now, as we continue, in the future we'll have a huge population of seniors, those who are 60 and above. The other thing that is important about old age is that they depend on the middle population, that is the middle age, because they're the ones who are working, and you find it puts a strain on them because they're just supporting themselves. They have to support their children and support their parents financially in order to sustain their living. As we grow older, we know that it's an age where there are losses that happen. So you lose independence, you lose your health, you lose income, you lose spouses, you lose family, friends. And so because of that, I would like to think of the 60s and above as a vulnerable group. Many people have invested in defending the rights of children, defending the rights of women, but very few people acknowledge that older people are also a vulnerable group. And many of us fail to see that we are going to live beyond 60. In many developing countries, you find people living to the age of 100, 110, and still very fit. So for us, the same will happen. It's a growing trend, and it's coming. So we must pay attention to that.
But like you've said, this population is growing, unlike before. What has changed over the years?
So first of all, that population right now in Kenya, it's only 5%. According to the 2020 census, older people only make 5% of the total population. So what has changed over the years is we see this group increasing because of many reasons. One is advancements in medical care. That is, science and technology have enabled us to know how to take care of our bodies better. We have advancements in treatments. Diseases like cancer, for example, which would have initially decimated such a population, are no longer seen as a huge threat. Of course, the health systems of a country are what matters the most in terms of will they be able to overcome a life-limiting diagnosis, for example, like cancer. Another reason why we see people living longer is because of the urbanization that we see today. So that means better roads, we see better access to healthcare, better access to education. And education, I find, is very important, because once you're educated, you know how to take care of yourself, take care of your health. Even if you should find yourself with a diagnosis like being HIV positive, what then? Are you able, based on your education, to adhere to medication, Do you have the positive mindset to see that I will overcome this, I can live on medication and live a normal life? So education is one reason. Urbanization I've talked about. The other reason also is because there's a whole awareness that is arising, because when people work longer, retire slightly later than before, based on the fact that they live longer, they also tend to create a whole awareness that we're growing older, I have to take care of myself, because now, yes, I will retire at 60, but I probably still have another 30 years to live. So when you look around and you see people in their 90s and 100s, that also begins to change our reflection. It changes our mindset on the fact that we have to take care of ourselves because we have many more years to live. Okay, unfortunately, we are living longer, but not necessarily in good health. Yeah. Another reason that has also changed is incomes have increased. The economies of countries have also gotten better. Of course, 2020 is an exception, but when we look at Kenya, for example, and its economy, we see that the country's finances have improved over the years, and this is a huge contributing factor towards health. We know that impoverished societies, or people living in impoverished communities, generally also tend to live in poorer health. And this is a vicious cycle, because the less income you have, the more you have to work hard to earn, and the less you have to save for your health, and the less you have even for things like recreation, which is an important part of aging successfully and taking care of yourself. The last but not least reason why I think we are living longer and what has changed over the years is a lot of awareness that has been created towards some lifestyles. For example, smoking. Over the years, a lot of information has been spread about the risks of tobacco smoking, especially in excess, which causes cancers like lung cancer, which causes diseases of the lungs, which causes things like diabetes. Okay.
So people are more aware of
Yes, people are more aware. Public health practitioners have worked very hard to create awareness around this, around physical activity and the risks of being obese towards your health. They've also spent a lot of time to create awareness on nutrition and what is the right way to eat, what is healthier. Of course, it's being fought by people in those trades, because you find if somebody's in the trade of tobacco, somebody else in the trade of alcohol, for example, there will be definitely some conflict of interest. But over the years, we have seen they always give a disclaimer. Yes, there's a disclaimer that says excessive consumption of alcohol, for example, or excessive consumption of tobacco,
use of tobacco
is harmful to your health. We've also seen an increment in tax towards some of these products, which are, when used in excess, are harmful to your health.
So somehow it negates people from using it.
It discourages them from using it.
Okay. And the working generation, there's a lot of burden for them from the younger generation and from the older generation, because they have to support them. How best can they prepare for old age?
So the first and most important thing is to be aware that yes, we are growing older. Second thing is to make arrangements for them. What are these things that cost us in terms of taking care of ourselves as we are growing older? One thing we must know is that the burden, or rather the resources that we use of taking care of an older person is 9 times the amount that you use to take care of a younger person. With that awareness alone, it's enough to make you start thinking, is it about planning for my retirement? Should I retire into a new job? For example, many people have switched careers, where you find somebody was initially a teacher, then they go into healthcare, maybe counseling. Somebody was initially an engineer and they move into business or investment, something which they are able to do beyond that age of 60 or 65 or whichever age they retire into. Others may look at it as in terms of taking care of their bodies to avoid all those illnesses and anything else that will bring you down as you age. Others may decide to invest, make a, have financial savings or assets, which later can be used in terms of liquidation to take care of your health needs as you grow older. Other things would be as simple as writing a will or talking to your family members and choosing someone to give something we call power of attorney, which is your guardianship over your health decisions as you grow older, because you may find you already have the resources, you already have the money to take care of your health needs, but you may become, for one reason or another, incapacitated or unable to make
The decision.
a decision or voice your decision because you lost speech, you lost your voice, and so on. Yeah.
But at what point should you start? Because when you look at people in their 20s, they're living life. They want to enjoy life. Most of them are into drinking and they don't save much. And in your 30s, a few wake up. And then most people now come to their 40s now thinking about their families, but not again so much about the old age until in their 50s, which is the safest period that someone should start thinking about their retirement and old age.
I believe everyone who is 18 and above, I know this may sound controversial, but planning for your future, planning for old age should start from the moment you're an adult and are able to make decisions for yourself. That means if it's about personal development, if it's about investing in yourself, in your career, improving yourself, because we said one of the things is poverty.
Yes.
Yeah. The more impoverished you are, the less your chances of aging successfully. Another reason would be because maybe you lack the access to education, for example. Are you able to do something about that? Are you able to, and this applies mostly to now the middle age. How well you take care of yourself. You know, when the doctor says avoid excess alcohol or cigarettes, keep a nice healthy BMI, take care of your stress levels and manage them and your expectations. When you do these things very well in your middle ages, then you're able to age successfully. That means in your 60s and 70s, you'll still be active, you'll still be fit, you'll have less burden of diseases at that point. So I would say start as early as possible. Of course, it's also never too late. You could be 70, it's never too late.
But you can start somewhere.
Yes, you can always begin. One thing I know about, for example, physical activity is that it is able to reverse some of the effects of aging. And like there's a mentality that people have that, okay,
when you're old,
I'm
you're
already
weak.
too old, I'm too weak. Everybody, most people have what we call rehab potential, meaning you're able to exercise your way to reverse the effects of aging and readjust yourself back into society. The things you are not able to do before, you should be able to do them no matter what age you are in.
And so that's why nowadays we see very many photos online of old people who are actually very fit.
Yes, yes, because they have
care of your body.
Yes, they have taken care of themselves. They know that I need to still be working when I'm 70. I need to still be making an income when I'm 80. Even when I have that income, am I able to enjoy a holiday somewhere, or will I be unable to? Yes.
Hospital.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You've talked so much about aging successfully. What do you mean by that?
All right. So medically, aging successfully is defined by your capacity, what we call intrinsic capacity. That is the ability that you have within you to live independently, free of disease.
Okay.
Okay. So what are you able to do by yourself without being limited by all these changes that come with age? One good example is there are activities we call basic activities of daily living, which a healthy person should be able to do. Something like going to the toilet, grooming, basic grooming, taking a shower, washing yourself and cleaning up, applying oil, combing your hair,
brushing,
feeding yourself. Those are all called basic activities of daily living. Then we have extended activities, or what we call instrumental. There are things which are helpful in order for you to still maintain your freedom. All right? Movement, for example. You may be having a disability and maybe you're on a wheelchair, but that does not mean you are not independent.
Yeah.
Many people who may be using walking aids are still able to do some of these activities, and some of them are like going shopping, managing your finances in the home. Are you able to pay via M-Pesa, for example,
bills,
mobile
yeah.
transactions? Are you able to write a check? Are you able to account for money that you have spent and understand where it's gone to or where it's not gone to? I'll give you a good example. When you have a disease like dementia, for example, you may not be able to manage your finances because you have...
You forget.
Yes.
Yeah.
You lose
Memory.
You're not able to remember, what did I eat today?
What did I
Who
do?
are you?
Yeah.
What am I doing here? So
Where am
that
I?
is, yes, where am I? Those are some examples of inability to make decisions by yourself. Another extended activity is being able to step out of your home. There's the part where you do your chores
Yeah.
without assistance, something like cooking for yourself, cleaning up after yourself, going up the stairs. For example, if you live in a storied house,
Yeah.
one question you may be asked is, are you able to carry a cup of hot tea upstairs at 80? Some may be able to do it.
But most may not.
Some may not be able to do it. Another extended activity is going out there and interacting with people in social circles. Many older people find it a challenge because they may not be able to navigate the streets. Some of them may not be able to even get public transport and stop where they want to stop and arrive at where they want to arrive at. So some of those things limit eventually your independence, because it means you have to get help with those things. You have to get additional income to maybe employ somebody, or like in most cases in Kenya, you must use a family member who would be maybe a sister, a brother, or somebody in the home to help you with those.
And unfortunately, some older people are having technological challenges.
Yes. Technological, I would say that depends. It depends again on the literacy levels. In
Yes.
Kenya, we're doing something above 80%.
Okay. Which is a good...
It's a good number.
Yeah, it's a good number.
But still, there's that 15 to 20% who are not able to use technology because of illiteracy. But a good thing about Kenya is our mobile technology reach is 100%.
Yeah.
So most older people are able to at least dial. Some
They
of
can
them
do
are
the
able.
basic.
Yes, they can do the basic mobile transactions. Yeah. Some are even able to read. They may not be able to read the text of the message, but they can see the figures and understand. The few that are not able to usually will be surrounded by helpful people who may tell them, okay, this is your balance and this is your... I've seen many older women, for example, who do business and are not able to read or write.
But there's someone beside them.
There's someone beside them and they're able to track their transactions. Of course, it puts them at risk of, you know, losing their money and theft. But it does not necessarily limit them for them to say, I will stay at home because I cannot use my phone. Nowadays with technology, things like social media that allow us to do video phone calls across to our loved ones also enable us to reach out to others. So I would not say they are 100% limited, but when given
a small percent.
Yes, a small percent, and when given a chance and shown that this is how you connect video, this is how you speak over the phone, many of them are actually able to use technology.
That means the caretaker also has to be aggressive enough to be able to teach these guys.
Yes, they have to be aggressive enough, but they also have to be supported towards knowing or even trained, that is, to know how to take care of an older person and their needs. Yes.
There's something you mentioned when you were defining what successful aging is. You said it's free of health, medical conditions.
Yes.
Now, what about people with medical conditions like diabetes, maybe HIV and AIDS, cancer? Do you cluster them as unsuccessful aging?
No, I wouldn't. What I meant is, do these diseases that you mentioned, yes, do they limit your independence?
Okay.
Like I gave the example of somebody who can be wheelchair bound.
But they are able to do the activities.
Yes, they
like any
live
other
by
person.
themselves. They do their chores, they go to work, they drive, come back home. Yeah. So what matters mostly is, do these incapacitations, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's that, constant, follow-up in the clinic because of medication, do they limit how well you
Your
are,
daily operations.
Yes, your daily operations and how well you take care of yourself. So an example of unsuccessful aging would be where you have incontinence, for example, and because of your incontinence, let's call it urine incontinence, you're unable to go out and meet people socially. You're unable to exercise. So what does that do? It limits not only your activities at home, but it limits your activities outside the home.
Yeah.
And the more inactive you are, the more you are at risk for other diseases, like being overweight or obese, hypertension, diabetes, and every other disease that is linked with a sedentary lifestyle. So when all of these problems accumulate, what happens when you get to 60 or 70, when your own immune system also starts to decline? The capacity therefore will decrease, and that alone is what I would call unsuccessful aging. Then also, how does it affect you socially, psychologically? Also, those are aspects, yes, emotional, all those are aspects of how you cope with those changes and how then you age. Yeah.
Talking about unsuccessful aging, tell us more about that.
Right. So, like I said, there are many aspects of aging. There's physical, social, psychological. Aging is associated with losses.
Yes.
One loss I talked about is the loss of maybe a spouse or loved ones or your peers. What happens when you retire is you go home. You may not all retire at the same time, but you may find in the community there may be 2 or 3 of you who all retired at different points or different years. So there's a loneliness that comes in because you've left work, you've lost relevance. Maybe you used to be a head teacher or in authority, maybe a policeman, and now you're no longer that. You no longer have that job, that the satisfaction that came from that role. So loss of a role is one thing that also comes in. Another thing is loss of income. When you lose your income, again, what happens? You lose some form of independence because there are lifestyles that are associated with income. You may find some people would, based on their income, would be able to go out, maybe do a little bit of shopping. Some would go have a drink or two, especially men. Some would be able to travel. Some would be able to buy a newspaper regularly. But now, because of that change in your budget, your lifestyle also must change. Some of these things affect you psychologically. You may find you no longer have the people that you are used to having around you. So what happens? There's loneliness, there's depression, and depending on how well you're able to cope with these things, it may end up being a problem like substance abuse. Many older people find themselves becoming alcoholics, for example, because of all these changes and the inability to cope with them. That is one example of unsuccessful aging because of your social changes. Another very common change that happens socially is you lose your family members. You have children who have grown up, become independent, they have children of their own. What happens? They migrate. You're no longer living within the same household. Another migration that happens and is very common, especially in developing countries such as ours, is that when you're young, you migrate to urban areas for work. But upon retirement, what happens?
Go back home.
Yes. Many of them return to their rural environment. So what does that mean? First, you may have lost your friends, you lost your neighbors, you lost the social circles that you had, the networks that you had from work and from your living environment while you were still working before retirement. Then you move to the rural areas, you hardly have any friends, the lifestyle there is different. so many changes. So that again will determine whether you still maintain your independence or not. You may find you've moved to an area where even the language is a barrier, the culture is a barrier, because you left 30 or 40 years ago, and now on coming back you have no social network to sustain you. So based on that, again, that would determine whether or not you're active or not, whether you'll just stay at home throughout and maybe have virtual connections with others or not. Yeah. So again, there's something we call physical decline. Physical decline is determined by many things. A small part is genetics. We know people who age very well. And you look at the generations. This is so-and-so's mother, who is so-and-so's daughter, and this is their grandchild. And over the years you can see, well, they look fit. This one looks like this one's sister, and yet this is a parent. So genetics plays a small part, about 15% of how we age. Now the rest, the 85% of how we age, that is your chronological age or biological age versus your physical appearance. All that is determined mostly by how well you took care of yourself and whether or not you got some disease. Genetics, like I said, genetics is in two parts. So there's the inheritance of good genes. So you're able to, age gracefully. And then there's the genetics that, the bad kind of genetics that maybe limits you and gives you some illnesses or inheriting cancers, for example. Breast cancer we know is hereditary. Lung cancer the same. So you find when they're passed down, of course that will limit your longevity, how many years you live. Even if you should survive the first part, or if you should survive one form of cancer, chances are you may not live in excellent health, because you always have to worry about, will it recur? Yes. So genetics plays a part. But now the other 85%, like I said, is really how well you took care of yourself
over the years.
And some of it is determined by your level of income, your environment. Okay, a good example is rural environment versus urban. Both have their advantages and disadvantages, but I think living in a rural area in impoverished countries, in low-income countries like Kenya, puts you at risk. Because you have no access, for example, or very poor access to things like health facilities, to schools, to social support, for example, and all these things cumulatively, they add up to, Also, there's a risk of accidents, occupation-wise or even environmentally, where you find, if you get a road traffic accident, for example, and you end up incapacitated in one way or another, it also contributes to how you age. If you end up with a life-limiting or a lifelong or long-term illness, that will limit your health, and that, in the long run, limits how successful your aging will become. Another, this is in urban areas where security could be a problem. If you have to always live in fear, it affects you not just psychologically, but also should crime affect your health eventually, maybe you get assaulted or you get infected, let's say HIV, because of gender-based violence, that also affects your health and eventually how you age. So those are just a few examples of what determines how unsuccessful aging comes in.
And is there a way we can revert some of that once we hit old age 60?
That's a tricky question, but yes. One example I gave is physical activity.
Yes.
Unfortunately, as we age, our metabolism also slows down. All right, our ability to build muscle also decreases, and our ability to store fat increases. So that means you have to work a little bit extra in order for you to maintain that strong body. Also, there are changes that come in for women, for example, with hormones that cause our bones to become softer and maybe weaker and at risk for fractures. So those you may change for physical activity, but there are some which incrementally may not enable you to reverse. A good example is the effects of excess alcohol consumption. We've all heard of liver cirrhosis, which is basically you drink too much alcohol, so over the years it causes changes, and that's just one of many others. Diseases like diabetes and high blood pressure may not necessarily be reversible, but you can limit their progress.
Impact, yeah.
They can be stopped and be managed from that point moving forward. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stella. Tell us a little bit more about what you do, because we did not talk about that, and why you chose this path.
Okay, so I'm a general practitioner and a future public health practitioner as well. I had the privilege of doing my medical studies in a country in Asia where people live much, much longer than here in Kenya. And while I was there, I was able to observe that there was a huge difference in how people perceive old age, because they have a much older population, and the older population has outlived or is bigger than the children. And so all around, you'd be surrounded by 70, 80, 90-year-olds, 100-year-olds walking around and happy and independent. And on returning to Kenya to be integrated into the Kenyan medical system, and even just looking around culturally, I noticed there was a very huge difference. People in their 40s and 50s already had the mindset of an old person, and they felt, I'm too old to do this, I'm too old to do that. When somebody died of at 70 of illness, or when they had a life-limiting disease, not many people would invest in trying to save or rescue this person, because they felt 70 is good enough. You don't have much longer to live. And so that made me angry and it made me decide that I must do something about this. I must create awareness. I must tell people that they're living longer and nobody has to suffer just because you're a certain age, and that it's not normal to live in poor health, for example, just because you're older. Yeah.
And I think that the blame also falls on the society, because we've somehow neglected the older generation. With that in mind, you're studying outside and having worked in Kenya and being a Kenyan, what advice would you give, one, the family, two, everyone as an individual, because we are all heading to old age, and three, the society and the government?
Right, so first to individuals, and this applies to everyone, whether you're young, whether you're a child or an older person, we are all headed there. You may think you're 60, but there's somebody always that is older than you. There's an 80-year-old, there's a 90-year-old, we're all headed there. So the most important thing that we could do is to start taking care of ourselves. The second thing that we could do also is to have empathy, because once you treat someone else better, chances are it will cause an effect where everybody starts to be kind to one another. Now, for those who are in the community, especially investors, I would encourage them to also start looking at older adults as a population where they have very few facilities and resources, and yet they are able to spend. So many people invest in youth, in children, in women, women rights and gender rights, but I would encourage investors, for example, to look at the older population. For people in policy and legal circles, I'd also encourage them to also start changing the laws so that they are more flexible and more welcoming to older adults. There are people in construction, architects, urban planners. All around us we have environments that are not supportive. We want to call them age-friendly for older adults. So what can we do around us to change and make Kenya friendlier to older people to live in?
Talking of investors and making Kenya a friendlier place to live in, do we have any homes in Kenya? And is that something that we should consider having? Would it work in Kenya?
Yes, I believe so. In the future, there are homes. I believe you mean for older adults.
Yes.
Yeah. First, you have to look at our culture.
Yeah.
Culturally, many older people want to age at home,
yeah.
which is what we call aging in place. So for many of them, they would only opt for that option if their home environment no longer is able to support them. So that means probably not enough space. Maybe they live in a shared living kind of household where they live with their children and their grandchildren. Some of them have a home but nobody to take care of them, but yet they have the money to spend. So yes, in Nairobi there are several older adults homes, and again, depending on your budget, you can go and live there and enjoy. Yeah, so yes, they are there. I would say really it depends. It boils down to your choice and your capacity, financial capacity, whether or not you're able to want to live there. But generally, most people would prefer to age at home.
At home.
Yeah.
But they also have that option. They can go to a home where they can be taken care of.
Yes, they can go to a home and they interact with other older people and enjoy it just like their home. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to the show. Any last words?
So my last words would be, let us all know that we are headed there. Aging is not something we should be afraid of. Aging can be something we enjoy. And old age does not have to be about losses. If I know that I'm living longer, I can start a new relationship, I can start a new investment, I can travel the world, and I can practice my hobbies because it's just a period like any other.
Thank you so much. Kongani singi tap kalenjin onge tuen e wigi ne nyone asitage much kengalal agoba topic ne baraini kaina nyo Karen Cheruiyot.